Cool. All right, let's go to the next slide. Welcome, everybody. So good to see you all today. And so we're going to start off with four of the libraries sharing their plans. And so the four libraries, we have Lisa Youngblood from the city of Harker Heights in Texas, from Stuart C. Meyer Public Library. We have Kara Roberts and Brianna Newsom from Starkville. And please correct me if I'm mispronouncing this, Octibaha County Public Library in Mississippi, Karen Stippy in New Brunswick Free Public Library in New Jersey, and Stacy Wixall from Macedon Public Library in New York. And you'll see these libraries are all in different locations from Texas, Mississippi, New Jersey, and New York. We have a couple of libraries are in path of totality, a couple are just off the path of totality. So I think they're going to share some really interesting things that they've done or they're planning to do, and looking forward to hearing from them. So first one up, Lisa, are you ready to go? I don't know if you want to share your screen or if you
I'm
just
ready
want to
to go.
talk.
If I can share my screen, that would be totally awesome. But if
Okay,
so, let me see if I have the ability to do that.
you should.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ooh.
I am Lisa Youngblood from the city of Parker Heights in Texas. We have been having a fabulous time with the eclipse, even though we haven't had the total eclipse yet. We have been working on this for about a year. But what I wanted to talk about today was starting with our annular eclipse. These are just some pictures, just because I think they're really cute. And you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, that's our children's librarian who is really talking about citizen science. We decided very early on that we would just use the word citizen science over and over and over again until people got tired of hearing it. Our annular event was a fabulous event, despite the fact that we were not in the best position for the annular, but we still got out everything. We got out our sun spotters, we had costume characters, we had teenagers helping us, and it was a really great event just to kind of get people excited about the coming annular. And we were able to talk to a lot of people about citizen science. We sort of made an entire corner of our lobby all about citizen science, and we left that display up for about 2 months just so people would see it for a while. We have taken it down because we know if you leave it up too much longer, you won't, people won't be excited anymore if you leave it up too much. We've also been doing a ton of outreaches. I mean, anytime that a school calls us, we'll go out. In fact, I'm going out later today. That's why I'm kind of dressed. You probably cannot see it, but I have on clothes that are about constellations today. I'm going out. We've been going out quite a bit. So if you get a chance to go out to schools, especially after school events, normally I like to go into the classroom because I can talk to more kids, but actually I'm trying to get to those after school events so I can talk to parents, because we really need to talk to the parents about citizen science, and we are able to get a lot of interest in that. All kids are interested, but it takes a parent to download an app. So we really want to talk to that. Here you'll see a picture of Kaylee. She's from our Harker Heights Parks and Recreation Department. We have completely working with them and everything that we are doing. And the library and the Parks and Recreation went to a local college where we talked about GIS, and our portion of it was talking about citizen science and the coming eclipse. So we thought that was an unusual place to be sort of for this, but because we've been out there and really having a great time, we've been approached by a lot of people saying, well, we hadn't thought about having you come before, but we'd love for you to come and talk to our kids. So we've really had a great time doing that. Here you'll see our outdoor and science expo. Again, we worked with the Harker Heights Parks and Recreation Department, and we were able to have a lot of fun, but also meet a lot of people who came out for different reasons. You'll see two different boards on here. One is the HH Library. That's basically an entire board of citizen science. And Erica, again, was positioned there to just talk to parents at this event. This was a Saturday event. We also had another group of people. We worked with the Harker Heights Fire Department as well as Parks and Recreation. Again, you'll see the second photo where there's kind of a red background. It looks kind of like just it's very sparse, but we had a lot of information there about our coming events and the eclipse. We ended up using this as what we call an eclipse open house. We did a couple of town hall meetings, and several people sort of thought they were only for businesses. So we used this event as an open house, and we had a lot of people come in. It worked really well. And then we just had fun pictures. There's me as Miss Frizzle. So we're pretty excited. Arnold is there, and he was just tickled to take pictures. And we also had a planetarium there. So we're kind of bringing in space, as I know all of you guys are doing, and really getting attention. And then we're trying to get people to really be involved through citizen science. I just put one of these in here. We have been doing a lot of Comic-Cons, Giganticons. I happen to enjoy them and have a lot of contacts. So we have been given free space. This was just this last weekend. This was Anime Sunika. And because that both neither the library nor really a science little exhibition was expected, we ended up being one of the most popular spots at this particular event because it was so different. We of course had kids there playing, and I hope you enjoy, as I do, seeing pictures of little kids playing. We're using our teenagers over here. You see them in an arch that actually was a dragon, and so they came and they started really, these two have been really working on learning about the science. They've been attending our astronomy classes that we've been having, and they're going to be going through any training that they can through Globe Observer as well as through Soundscapes for the eclipse. And I think that's helping. You'll see here we have kind of a what we call the small display that we take with us. That's just something that we put up, and we were shocked that at Anime Con we thought, oh, we'll get a few people. Many people were just really excited to go over and take a look. We saw a lot of people trying to put those apps on their phone, a lot of people sort of asking more questions. We are finding that even though we've been talking about this nonstop for a year, it's just now that people are really opening their eyes and getting ready to say, hey, this is coming. We are in the path of totality, and we are certainly looking forward to having a great event. Our entire spring break is coming up in a few weeks. It's all going to be eclipse and space oriented. We have more astronomy classes. We're doing some sky watching, and also the weekend just before the 5th, 6th, and 7th, we're having some outdoor art displays. We're doing an art exhibition that is a eclipse theme, but I think most importantly, we'll be able to catch some people as we get closer to time to get them really excited about Globe Observer. As I talk to schools, again, I talk to the teachers, but what I am finding to be really helpful is when I can get to parents. And this was one of those events where there were a lot of parents there with kids. The kids were playing, so the parents just sort of had time to talk to us about what was going on, and that made a huge difference. So that's Harker Heights Public Library. As you can tell, we are just excited about the eclipse and have been excited about how this has positioned us in the community. As a leader, we've been asked to be on television, news shows. We have done interviews, and it's been great for the library, but it's also been great for our city as a whole. So thank you for everything you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Wow. I don't know where to start. I love how you're tapping into your local organizations, your local subject matter experts, the fire department, Parks and Rec, how you're thinking about parents and activities, places where you can go that all ages. Just love it. And especially talking about, even though we've been talking about the eclipse for a year or more, so many people don't know, and it's exciting seeing it coming, but it's also can be a little nervous, but boy, wonderful stuff. Amazing. So why don't we go ahead? I think, Cassie, I'm not sure if the next one, I believe, might be Kara and Brianna, and you have some things in the slide deck. So Cassie, if you would go ahead and share the slide deck again, and we'll go to Kara and Brianna in Mississippi, in Starkville, Mississippi. So go 2 more slides. Okay, thank you. Kara and Brianna, take it away.
Good morning. I'm Kara. This is my coworker, Brianna. And we had several programs leading up to the eclipse in October. We had a presentation on eclipses by our local NASA rep. We also incorporated the globe cloud observation. The kids created clouds using, cotton balls and such, and learning about the clouds. The day of the eclipse, I was able to show the app to a bunch of the kids and show how to take the data readings for the clouds and how to take the temperature reading that we had to do. We also did some exoplanet programming, just anything to do with space leading up to the eclipse. And Bree's going to tell you a little bit about what we've got coming up.
Oh, yes. So just to show the pictures of what we did in October, that's our exoplanet STEAM we did with the kids. We implemented citizen science information and also let them create their own exoplanet while they learned about other ones. So you can go to the next slide to see the picture, I believe, for the STEAM of the, yes. So that was our cloud STEAM that Kara was talking about. We gave away the books that we got for this grant, and we also taught them how to identify different types of clouds and showed them how it looked like on pieces of paper. So you can go to the next slide. And then we also had a performer, one of our local NASA ambassadors, Bob Swanson. He did a musical performance all about the eclipse, and it was super fun. The kids, that's them jumping up and dancing. So you can go to the next slide. I believe that's for our April. Oh, yes, I know. And this is the solar eclipse viewing party at our local refuge. And on the left there, we weren't able to get a lot of cloud readings or submit a lot of observation because there were no clouds in the sky. But we did tell them about the citizen science opportunities at the refuge. And on the right side, those are some of our other coworkers and friends showing how to properly view the eclipse with their eclipse glasses. So you can also go to the next slide. And then we have a lot of plans for April. So we're trying to hit all of our different age groups. Yes, exactly. We did submit no clouds, but it's like, how many times should we submit it? So then in April, we're trying to hit all of our age groups. So for the children, we're going to do a lot of eclipse story times, and we're doing a special cloud scavenger hunt where the prize will be the eclipse glasses. So we're going to be promoting the globe, eclipse, and cloud features of the app. For the tweens, we're going to be doing a special Minecraft moon hunt gaming party. So kind of engaging them in their current interests and then tying in the upcoming eclipse and the citizen science aspect of the app. And a lot of them are very interested in that aspect, or in the science of that anyway. And for teens, we're hitting really hard because we weren't able to hit it as much in the previous eclipse. But since we're closer to the path of totality, we're super excited to engage our teen demographic. So I'll be doing a month-long NASA trivia challenge, seeing how much they know about space, and I have a special prize. I have a Starry Night projector that I've had for a while, but it seemed very relevant. Then I'll be having a solar eclipse watercolor paint along, tying in also the globe eclipse app. Galaxy soap making, trying to engage people that might not come to regularly to STEAM or science-based programming, so hitting those who love the art programs. Then we'll be doing a build your own Parker solar probe, also tying into the upcoming eclipse. And then I put Avatar: The Last Airbender escape room. A lot of you guys might not know, but teens love Avatar. The live action just came out. However, there is a major plot point concerning an eclipse. So I'm going to play into that with the escape room and then hook them into, we have an eclipse coming up and we have this cool app that we can put observations in. And then for our adult and family, we'll be actually having a workshop showing our patrons. They can come in and see how to actually use the Globe Eclipse app with the demo that you guys are providing. We'll also be having, on the day of the eclipse, on Monday, we'll be having a solar eclipse viewing party at our local fire station park. So it's within walking distance from the library, trying to include the homeschool kids as well. And our previous presenter, our local NASA ambassador, Bob Swanson, is coming back again to do another performance to educate our little ones and families about the upcoming eclipse. So that's what we have planned for April. For March going into the April eclipse. We're super excited. Thank you for letting us share.
And I know our two branch libraries also plan different programs around. One of our branch libraries is including the local school. They're going to come to the library and do a eclipse viewing party with the local school.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. I love all the different connections. And Ann Holland said it best. It's okay to branch out in lots of areas. It's having fun and making it fun. And I love that you're tying into music, into arts, and oh my God, an escape room. Can you say just a little bit more about that? How are you making the connection in the escape room?
Oh, yes. So actually, the fun thing about this is that we had run this escape room previously, but we have a whole new group of patrons who have never done it. So in the show, one of the pivotal plot points in one part of the show that they'll understand and know is that it ties part of the plot into there being an eclipse that leaves, for example, the firebenders weak when the sun is blocked by the moon. And so that'll be a massive part of the escape room, them learning, oh, the eclipse, and that'll be the answer to the escape room. And then that'll again tie into the Globe Eclipse app. And then it'll be like eclipse in real life. So just kind of tying what they see in media and also what they can see in real life.
That's fantastic. You know, I first got interested in eclipses as a child when I read the Mark Twain book,
Uh-huh.
Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, and there's a major plot twist in that related to an eclipse. So that's all I'll say about that. And I guess there was just seeing if there are any questions. Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
Lisa,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying Lisa's question, it is in the animated show, it's not the live action one yet. But yes, I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify.
Okay. And Joy asks, we can only handle one grade level to the viewing program. What grades do you all have at the viewing program?
I think it's going to be kindergarten and first graders.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to our next presenter.
Mhm.
And Cassie, if you could go to the next slide. Karen from New Brunswick Free Public Library. Karen, did you want to share your screen, or are you just going to talk, or however you would
I
like
was
to
just
do
going
it?
to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just was going to relay what we did with regard to the Globe Observer app. So in the fall, I did a series of eclipse-related programs on Saturdays. So I called it Solar Science Saturdays because I like alliteration. So one of those Saturdays, I just called it Be a NASA Scientist. And so that was devoted to presenting about the Globe Observer app. So I had a slideshow about the app, which I feel like I got from Globe Observer itself. I was like looking back at the website because I did get a lot of stuff from the Globe Observer website. It's very helpful, especially the cloud resource library. But I'm not sure where I got the original slideshow. But then I also added to that slideshow, I had taken a recording of my phone using the app so that I could show, step by step people how that app works. And then we did go outside to use the app, and I had we have some iPads available here at the library. So especially for children who don't have mobile devices, we had the app downloaded on that already so that they could all go out and practice using the app. And then on Eclipse Day itself, on that Saturday, we weren't scheduled for a large percentage of the eclipse, probably only like 20%, but then it turned out to be cloudy and rainy anyway. But we had a lot of activities, indoors, and we were watching the live stream of the eclipse. But one of our stations was also from Globe Observer, a video using the eclipse version of the app that we had on a loop. And then we had all of the printouts from the Globe Observer, the cloud windows. And I also created a handout for joining our library team on the Globe Observer app. And let's see. And then, and one of the other things from the Cloud Resource Library were the cloud fortune tellers. So we had those out. So I'm going to do something similar in the spring. The week prior to the eclipse happens to be the school's spring break. So instead of Solar Science Saturdays, it'll be Solar Science Week. So each afternoon I'll be having something solar science related. So again, one of those days will be devoted to the Globe Observer app. And again, with the Cloud Resource Library, I might do one of the activities like Cloud in a Jar activity. I think that is everything.
That's a lot. And thank you for the reminder of, everything we have online in our resource library or in our base camp, take it and use it. And so the slide deck that Karen mentioned is one. We've got an updated version of that on the website. Heather Mortimer is going to talk about some of these new resources a little bit more, but all of the things that I'm seeing, the exhibits, the tabletop activities, we've got lots of things that have been mentioned that you can take and use. And Karen, I like that you mentioned about having a rainy day plan and how you pivoted to tabletop activities. And we've got lots of resources and things that people can use as part of a rainy day plan. So thank you. So let's go on. And thank you for the Globe team mention. I remember you created your own handout with the name, your team's referral code, so people would join your team. And a reminder to all of you to join our Globe Eclipse Libraries team. I'll send a reminder about how to do that, but join our team, create your own Globe team, and people can join as many teams as they want, and their observations get credited to every team that they're a part of. So it's a good way to see how people might continue to take observations after they leave your program. So let's go on. Cassie, if you would share the slide deck again. We'll go to our last library presenter, and that's Stacy from
Hi.
Macedon Public Library. And Stacy, did you want to share your screen or just talk, whichever you
Well,
prefer?
I wish I could share some pictures on the screen. Unfortunately, where I am, the schools will be closed on the day of the eclipse because the expectation is that there will be something like 500,000 extra people in the Finger Lakes area. So the response has been to close the schools. It looks like most libraries will be closed. So what I'm doing is pushing into the schools, and it's difficult to get a lot of pictures when you push into the school because permissions and all of that. So
Absolutely.
unfortunately, don't have
Understood.
pictures, but I can describe for you what I've been doing when I push into the schools. So I have a series of 6 different activities / lessons. The first one that I did took place the week of February 5th, and I go in every week, and it's with 3rd graders because I believe somebody asked, like, what grade level are you doing if you can only do one? The school suggested 3rd grade, so I'm rolling with 3rd grade. I did Big Sun and Small Moon, and that's the activity with the little coin and the plate. And I have to say that it turned out to be a disaster. The kids were not getting it, so I had to rethink it. And I do have my funny little model. I had to make a model. The teacher said, maybe if we had something more concrete first. I don't know if I can show this to you. So I have a ball. Can you see? I have a ball, an aluminum foil ball. This is just an old fidget spinner. And it's kind of like, I have a box.
Okay.
And I have a little Dixie cup in here. And I bought this really cool light that can be yellow or orange, just about any color you can imagine. And it was pretty affordable. Anyway, I made the model and it can turn. And I'm not going to be able to do this for you while I'm on screen because I'm not an octopus. But it does turn and you shine the light. And it just, like, you could see light bulbs go off, And then we could talk about, and I can't take credit for this idea. I'm fortunate because one of my staff members is married to an astrophysicist. And I explained what happened with the plate and the coin. And he thought about it and he said, how we have this giant hill in back of our library. And he said, why don't you have the teacher or yourself take the kids up the hill and look at there's like a big Christmas tree up there, pine tree. Have them all look at the tree and look at their teacher and say, which one's bigger? Well, the tree is going to be way bigger than any teacher. It's a really mature tree. And then have them go down the hill and say, can your teacher make the tree disappear? Well, so I challenged them to do this and they've done it and it worked great. So if anybody has those sorts of environmental conditions where they are, and they want to teach about apparent distance, like that worked out really well. And they like that. It's funny, like the teacher can make the tree disappear. So then I did Oreo cookie moon phases,
Mhm.
and that was super popular. But the way I did it, oh, let me rewind. For the first one, we did parts of what is an eclipse.
Mhm.
I try to integrate books when I go over. And for the next one, we did one of my favorites. I love Gail Gibbons. Everything she does, I think, is fantastic. We did the moon book. And when we got to the section on moon phases, which, let's see if I can get it. I should have put a, if you're familiar with the book, you know, like she does a good job of talking about the different moon phases. So when we got there, all the students, I made a like my own little handout, and they used their pencils and they colored in the different moon phases. And we talked about the difference between the northern and the southern hemisphere, and that was great. So then they went through and they had their notes, and we finished the book, and then I passed out 6 Oreos to each student, 2 extra because breakage, possibility of breakage. And they actually, and I gave them each a plastic spoon, and they could scoop some of the cream out. Well, depending on what phase we're, you know, talking about. If it's full moon, you don't have to scrape any cream out. But, and they love that. But the one class we ran out of some time, so I challenged them to use their cookies to show an adult or somebody else in their home what they had learned. And that went really well. And everybody really liked that. So now the next ones I'm going to talk about, I haven't actually done yet. We're on winter break right now. But when I go back, we're going to do some eclipse chalk art. And we're going to talk about the corona. And for that, I have the Eclipse Chaser. And I'm not going to read this whole book because it's pretty dense, but it does have some really good sections on the corona. And I learned some things I did not know. Like scientists are really trying to still figure out why the outer part of the sun is not as hot as the atmosphere around the sun. I'm like, I never knew that. That's fascinating. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give kids a chance to maybe think it over. What kind of hypothesis might they have about why it would be that way? Because, like, you know, you can talk about how when you back up from a fire or a stove, that's just not usually the case. So, like, what ideas might they have? Then the next one I'm going to do is about the clouds and the temperature. And I am going to do the cloud in a jar experiment. And I'm going to do it the way where you use a little shot of hairspray for some particulates. And hopefully it will go all as planned. And I am going to dye the water blue. And we are going to talk about clouds. This is a really simple book. It's just called Clouds. It's a reader, but I wanted to keep it simple. And oh, wait, nope. I was going to do that with the next one. I'm going to do the magic school bus with the clouds and the temperature. Sorry about that. I reversed the 2 books, but and hopefully that will just increase their understanding. And then the 5th lesson is estimating the cloud coverage. And I found on YouTube, Jessica Taylor, who's from NASA, did a really nice video with her daughters. And I love it. And it's imperfect, but it's perfectly imperfect. And it will give you super confidence to do the lesson. And I'm going to use fractions like she did, because remember, I have 3rd graders. I'm not sure if all of them totally get percentages yet. And so the kids will be given blue paper and white paper, and the white paper, you know, you rip it up and you make a certain amount of cloud coverage. And then on the back, you write what fraction you made. And then you get to trade with your neighbor, and everybody tries to decide, well, what is the cloud coverage they're showing here? And then they can look on the back or whatever. And I just thought that was a really cute, simple lesson and a good way to get that across. And I want to just say thank you for all these resources. It's been so helpful. And I was kind of excited about the clips, but I'm like really excited now because I learned so much from your resources too. And this book is the one I would do with that. And then my
Could you
final
hold that up
lesson-
again?
I'm
Could you
sorry.
hold it up again?
Oh,
Like-
sorry, Clouds.
Okay.
It's Marion
Yeah.
Dane Bauer.
Okay.
And my final lesson, I got these little photosensitive beads, and we're gonna talk about why do we wear the eclipse glasses. let's see. So I'm gonna say to the kids, I'm gonna give them like a few of these beads, and I forget there's a lot in here. They were cheap. Give them a few beads. I'll put them in their hands and I'll say, okay, keep it in your hand, keep your hand shut. And once everybody gets their beads, we're gonna take a little walk outside for a minute. And then when they get outside, they'll open their hand, and I've tested these beads. They work super fast. They're gonna change all different colors. And then I'm gonna say, wow, what happened to your beads? And they'll be all excited because they change colors. And then I'll say, you know what? The bead is like your eyes. And if you look at the sun can damage your eyes just as quickly as the sun changed the color of those beads. So we don't want to be looking at the sun, and that's why we have the eclipse glasses. So then we're going to get our glasses and we will make little cases for the glasses. And at that point, I have a letter that'll go home to parents, because we are also going to have Moon Pie Saturday, where the staff member's husband, he's going to talk about what to expect and not to expect during an eclipse. And we will be giving eclipse glasses to all the kids at the school, plus anybody who comes to any of our programs. And also at Moon Pie Saturday, you get a moon pie. And then I'm going to have 2 citizen science presentations so people can learn how to use the Globe app and everything. And if there are any eclipse glasses left over at all on Saturday, the Saturday right before the eclipse, first come, first serve, we'll give those out. But yeah, those are my plans and things that I have done. So thanks for letting me share.
Amazing. And thank you for mentioning that estimating cloud cover activity. I'll put the link in the chat to that video. It's Jessica doing the activity with her two kids. And then we also have a second video of Jessica presenting that at a StarNet Library webinar like several years ago. And it's very good because she talks about libraries who've done it as part of their program. So both of those, and it's a great hands-on activity, as you mentioned, with using sort of the paper. It's kind of a hands-on crafts, but it's also you're getting what it is you're doing. You're building kind of that skill of estimating how much is covered by cloud. So thank you for mentioning that. And several people have mentioned that the schools are going to be closed where they are. So they're also pushing out to the schools, pushing out to community groups. Thank you for all those. Gosh, so much stuff. Love it. So let's go ahead.
Can I
Oh, yeah,
just say
go
one more
ahead.
thing? If anybody has a question, or maybe they want to do moon phases with Oreos and they want my like worksheet, I am happy to share. My email address is Macedon Library Director @owl.org. Just shoot me an email and I'm happy to share anything. And
we could,
everything I said, I have documented. I'll share that too, whatever you want.
and I know you're on our base camp. All of you should have an invitation to our base camp. I'm going to be reorganizing things based on some of the feedback I've gotten. So if we could get you to post it there as well, that's a great place to share among this group. And UV beads, someone asked, Amazon's a great place to find it. Teacher Source. There's a StarNet Library activity using the UV beads and a UV flashlight as well. So maybe we'll get the link to that, because I know that was a really cool activity where you could do it indoors, that you didn't have to have a sunny day in order to do that. So why don't people have been sharing as part of the chat. The next thing I was going to do is to ask folks, please use the chat and share what you're doing. Have the presenters given you ideas for additional things? I don't want to take too much time from our next speaker, because Heather Mortimer is going to share some really great stuff that's coming, that's available now or coming very soon based on feedback we've gotten from you. And Kara got to mention she's received her audio moth. So you're going to be doing the data collection for both Globe Observer and Eclipse Soundscapes. I know other folks have mentioned that. So thank you for doing both of those. So, and thank you, Lisa, for that shout out about the training from both of our projects. We really appreciate that. So Heather, I'm going to go ahead. If Cassie, if you could go ahead and share the slide deck again, and we'll go right to Heather. Heather Mortimer is a graphic designer, but she's also an informal educator, and she is amazing. Let's go ahead to the next slide, and she's going to share some brand new resources and things coming very soon. So Heather, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Teresa. And thank you to all of the earlier presenters. It's been really interesting for me to hear how you're putting on Eclipse programming. So next slide, please. So like I said, my name's Heather Mortimer. I use she, her pronouns. And this is actually a photo of me at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta during the annular eclipse, which is a really exciting opportunity to finally use all of the things that I've been working on for many, many months before October 14th. And we've been working on even more stuff to share with you all. So if you'll go to the next slide, Cassie, I have a master resource list. And so all of our resources are available on our website. But this slide is just to give you a quick overview of what we have and what's coming soon. And I'll be sharing my screen in a bit so you can actually see these, but just to go through them, we have the pinhole projector, which many of you may have seen. That one's bilingual. We have some one-pagers. So there's a science one-pager that's available in English, Spanish, and then low-ink versions. We have a one-pager on how to use the app, which is set up to be either printed as a one-pager or a trifold, and that is now available in both English and Spanish. We're also working on just a general overview one-pager. That one's still in development, but I'm going to give you all a preview today because work is proceeding on it, and so I do have something to show you all. We also have some worksheets. So we have the Eclipse Journal, which is available in English and Spanish. And we're also creating an air temperature data sheet. So for anyone who doesn't have a cell phone or for any other reason can't use their phone to take measurements during the eclipse, we will have a paper data sheet that you can fill out instead and email to our help desk to be entered into the Globe database. We're also hoping to create an Excel version of that. So that would be a little bit more accessible to people with different abilities. And then you would also be able to graph the data in the spreadsheet itself. And then we have some displays, just quick printable materials for promoting the Eclipse and Clouds tools. You'll see here that I have the availability updated for today. So anything that is linked on this slide is available now on our website, and I'll show you how to get to those in a second. If it's marked as coming soon, that means that we pretty much have everything that we need. We're just putting on the final touches, and that should be available in 1 to 2 weeks. And then anything that says in development, we're still working on it, and hopefully they'll be available in a few weeks. So Cassie, do you mind if I share my screen?
No, go ahead. I'll stop.
Great, thanks. Yes. And I'm just going to share my entire screen, so please excuse my desktop. So the way that you'll find these resources is in our Eclipse toolkit. And it sounds like a lot of you are already familiar with this page, but just as a reminder, it's on the Globe Observer website, so observer.globe.gov. And then under Lead a Program, you'll click on Eclipse. That'll take you to this page here, and all of our resources are listed at the bottom of the page. The English ones are first, and then below that are the Spanish resources. We do, in general, try to list both versions in all of the entries, but we're having a little bit of a website issue right now, but hopefully that'll be resolved. If not, you can just scroll down for the Spanish versions. And just as a note, there is also a resource library under the Do Globe Observer page, but the resource library in the Lead a Program page has more in it because these are really resources intended for facilitators like yourself, not just the general public. And so I will share some of these resources. So like I said, this is the pinhole viewer. So these were printed die cut with a hole punched in the center. Unfortunately, well, maybe not unfortunately, but these were really, really popular. So we don't have a ton of them to share, but you're absolutely welcome to print these off yourself and cut them out. It could be a fun art activity to do with your library patrons.
Jessica, and I'm a
Um,
scientist from NASA.
I think the Jessica Taylor video is playing. Is that on my computer? Okay, just checking. This is our science one pager. So on the front, we have a nice big graphic giving a general overview of how the eclipse affects our atmosphere. And then on the back, we have more information on those different processes. This is also available as a low ink version because as you can see in this version, it's pretty ink intense. So we did also create a low ink version, and these are both available in English and Spanish. This is one of our newest resources, and it was really born out of feedback from you all. And so this is just a walkthrough on how to use the app on the day of the eclipse. And so we have this available in both a one-pager version, that's what this one is. And then we have a printable version, which you'll notice the numbers are a little bit out of order. So this one we recommend printing at 100% scale and then flipped on the short side, front and back. And then if you fold it accordion style, it basically becomes a little booklet on how to use the app during the eclipse. So this is a really great resource, to bring with you on the day of the eclipse. And then we have other resources that are more appropriate for leading up to the eclipse. Another resource we have is the Solar Eclipse Journal. So this is really great for younger audiences and students. I know there are a lot of comments in the chat about schools being closed. It's actually really exciting to me that schools are going to be closed so that people can experience this with their families. But if you have sort of younger audiences where collecting temperature data might not be appropriate for them, this is a worksheet where people just write down what they're experiencing using all of their senses during the eclipse. And it is fillable, so you can actually fill it out in advance if you'd like for your location. You can enter your general location, for example, Baltimore, Maryland. And then you can use the Eclipse lookup tool to enter in things like the percent coverage and the eclipse times. This was probably one of our most frequently asked questions at Balloon Fiesta was when is it going to happen? And luckily there were little printouts there that already had the times on it, and people found that super helpful. If you're not familiar with the Eclipse lookup tool, that's from Eclipse Soundscapes. And I absolutely adore this tool. Basically, all you have to do is enter in the zip code for where you're observing from, and it gives you all the information. And then on our worksheets, this information is in the same order. So you basically can just very easily transfer it over to the worksheets. Next up is our air temperature data sheet. So this one is not available yet, but it should be very soon. And so you fill out pretty similar information about how much the eclipse is, or what the percent coverage will be, the times for the eclipse. And then we have some additional information that's required for us to be able to enter the observation into the database. So that would be your site description and information about your thermometer. And then on the back, you can record air temperature measurements and create your own graph of your data. And this, if you use this for taking measurements, you would then just email it into us, and we have the email on this page. Like I said, we are trying to create a version that you can fill out in Excel. So this is really great for someone who maybe has a hard time writing or is using assistive technology on their computer to fill this out instead of, pen and paper. And then these both will also be available in Spanish. And then finally, we have our tabletop signs. So during Balloon Fiesta, it's several days, and the eclipse happened sort of towards the middle of our days at the event. So we had this sign up prior to the eclipse, just promoting the app, letting people know how they can observe the eclipse. And then after the eclipse, we replaced it with this version, letting people know that even though the eclipse is over, we're always collecting clouds observations. And then last but not least, I'm going to give you a little preview So we would also like to create a one-pager that's sort of a general overview, sort of combining content from the app one-pager and the science one-pager. And as you can see, it's mostly finished. But then we created some illustrations for the app that it turns out I really liked. I was pleased with how these turned out. We have one, they're sort of emphasizing the most important points that we noticed that we had to remind people of a lot. One of them being that, you can use either a digital or a liquid filled thermometer. However, you can't use a weather app for this. That it's important to observe the eclipse for 2 hours before maximum eclipse and 2 hours after maximum eclipse if you can. And that you should place your thermometer in the shade because direct sunlight might mess up your measurements. And so we're reworking the one pager to include some of these new illustrations. And so this one is still in development, but I wanted to give you all a little preview today. And so now I will try to get back to Zoom and stop sharing. But yeah, please let me know if you have any questions about these, or if you have any suggestions. We've got a pretty packed schedule of what we're trying to get finished before the eclipse, but it's always really helpful to hear what you find most useful. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Heather. As you could tell, she puts so much thought and creativity in all of these resources that she's developed. So I really appreciate you coming here today and sharing what's coming soon. And Cassie, if you go ahead and share the slide deck. Heather put her email in the slide deck. I'll put the link to the slide deck in the chat. And also when we send out the recording, I'll put the link to that as well as the chat we have here. So I just have a few more things I'm going to share. If we go to the next slide, a couple of reminders of what's coming up next. On March 14th, we're going to have a webinar that'll be a refresher on using Globe Eclipse. Kristen Weaver's going to present, and we're going to do a combined webinar with the Texas Master Naturalist. So that is coming the day before. The March 15th is when the Globe Eclipse tool will be released in practice mode. And what that means is temperature data can be entered, but will not go in the database, but the cloud observations will. So part of the feedback that we got was that people wanted more time to use in practice with the app. And then on April 1, the Eclipse tool goes live and all the observations go right into the database. So we're going to have a webinar on March 14th that'll be a refresher, and then the week of March 18th, probably the 18th, but I'll announce the hour. We'll have an office hour that'll be more of a hands-on. We'll take folks out, have folks go outside, take observations, come back, and we'll show you how to find the data you put into Globe Observer in the Globe database, but more details coming about that soon. But that was one of the things that you asked, more time learning about, a refresher on the app, and some more hands-on time with the app. And so if we go to the next slide, just a reminder, we've got an FAQ document. We update it all the time with your questions and our answers. And if you go to the next slide, I wanted to tell you about another opportunity that this can happen after the eclipse, but if you would think about it as part of your eclipse planning, one of the groups that we work with is the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. They're also funded under the NASA SciAct program, and they have a project called Nature Notes. And Nature Notes is a low barrier project, low barrier entry point to scientific writing that's designed for learners that are middle school aged. And they are doing a collaborative project called Eclipse Nature Notes. And you can use the Globe Eclipse Solar Journal page that Heather shared that's on the website. You could use that as a tool to get people ready to participate in Eclipse Nature Notes. And so the idea of this comes from everyone who experiences the eclipse, they're going to have stories or something to say about it. And so what Gulf of Maine Research Institute is doing, they are building on their Nature Note model to enable these eclipse stories to add to existing knowledge and be grounded in background information. and to showcase these observations, not the citizen science observations, but observations on what people experienced during the eclipse, after the eclipse. So you can use our eclipse journal page to capture those in the moment notes and then use that later to write an eclipse nature note. So I just wanted to tell you enough about this, that if you're interested, there's going to be a webinar this coming Monday from 4 to 5. It will be recorded, and they will be scheduling additional webinars. So we will send you information on it, but there's a link to sign up for the webinar, and there's a link to the information page. But this is something that can kind of extend that experience. So I will stop. We have 1 minute left. We had so much to share today. I'll stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes if folks have specific questions, but I'll check the chat to see if there are any additional questions, and feel free to unmute if you have questions and just ask. I see folks are planning to print a lot of these materials, and appreciate everyone being here today, and thank you to the libraries that shared what you've been doing. Just tremendous. So I'll stay on for a few more minutes. Gloria, you have your hand up if you want to unmute. Yes,
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
I can.
Okay, great. So all of those resources that Heather was talking about, so they're not available, or you can find them on the website. I was looking at the website and I'm not sure if I can
Absolutely.
find them.
So some of them are available now. I'll put the link. Cassie, do you have the link handy to put the link to the Google Slides? So in that slide that Heather shared, the ones that have a link, it links right to where they are online. The ones that are unlinked, they're coming very soon, like in the next couple of weeks or so. And Heather put the link to the Eclipse Toolkit. So you can go there. You can also go to the Google Slides and go to Heather's slide that tells you what's available now, if it's linked, and what's coming very soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. This will help me out, make a little display and stuff. So thank you guys so much for all your help.
Fantastic. Okay, well, if folks don't have any other questions, feel free to log off. And as I said, I'll stay on for a few more minutes and see if folks. Yes, I see H. Casillas. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing it. Cassie, if you go ahead and stop the recording, that'd be great.
Hello.
Hi.